How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another installment of Tech Support Thursday with Ticket 24. So, good stuff there. So, we're going to dive into it. There was a comment left on one of the videos about adding timestamps. I'm going to do my best to remember the time, how to timestamp. I'll have to pay attention to what I'm timestamping in the question. But I'm going to go ahead and run through some of these questions that I've got. There's not a lot this time, so it should be a short one. So we're just going to go ahead and dive in. I don't know if I've already answered this one in a Tech Support Thursday or not, but I'm going to go ahead and just knock it out real quick. On RRTC, Rob Reicher's Tech Channel, live stream OSPF Deep Dive. Hi Rob, I am looking at OSPF deployment over a layer 2 WAN 800 gig aggregate handoff to each 2 data centers. Each data center will have a single core switch as OSPF area 0, the backbone. We have a total of 75 physical libraries, each with a single edge switch. The WAN provider will deploy 8 rings, in which 10 libraries will be on a ring. Would it make sense to run each ring, 10 edge routers, in a unique area, or just put everything in area 0? I did respond to this, and I said that it makes more sense to do a multi-area design so that if something happens at a library in ring 1, you're not affecting a library in ring 5 or 6 or any of the other rings for that matter. So that's what I suggest, and go from there. That's basically what most people will do, is set up a multi-area design. There were some follow-on responses to that, but I'll let you guys read through the comments. VMware NSX v17 load balancer overview and basic inline load balancer. Well explained. Thank you. I appreciate that. On VMware Data Center, adding iSCSI shared storage to ESXi hosts in vCenter. This is an excellent video. Excellent in all caps. Thank you again, sir. You are welcome. On DCV18, vSphere vMotion, overview, implementation, troubleshooting, and whatever else I was in there. 828, which is the timestamp code that was put in the video, or in the comment. Do you have any online CBTs or computer-based trainings? I swear you break it down in English. So much better than those other guys on paid services. You're welcome. Pretty much the only thing that I do right now is YouTube. I kind of kicked around the idea of having my own training site again, taking simplified networking and turning it into a pay site. I just haven't. I've been haven't been able to find a good time to commit to that. And before I commit to running a business, that alone takes a ton of time. So I decided not to do that at the moment. Oh, here it is. Can you add timestamps? I will do my best. Okay, here's a big question on Dell R810 server review. Hi Rob, thanks for your videos, always interesting, but I am learning about servers and how to use them to simulate topologies. But I had a chance to try Cisco CML and noticed that large topologies don't really need all that CPU after boot up. Rather, I think RAM is more crucial, as I have seen CML instance running a couple XR9K full images with 16 gigs per instance and starting to malfunction, slowed down with more than 3 XR9K images. RAM seems a lot more critical in that respect, as these images were taking 30 to 35% CPU after boot up with 50% top spikes. I'm sorry for not having more detail about that. How many XR9K images have you managed to run on the server without any issue? And my response to that is 2, maybe 3 tops, because they are such beasts to run. And the only time I would ever do that if I'm doing any advanced segment routing. For example, if I'm doing on-demand next top or egress BGP peering or something like that. That's the only time I would do anything that's, or multi-domain segment routing, something like that. Let's see here. On Ticket 23, Hi, Rob. Do you live in a parallel universe with 48 hours in a day? Where do you find so many time to make 7 to 8 lab revisions? Oh, that's a good question. Um, the answer to that question is simple. As soon as I realize that I need to make a change, I make a change, and I get it done as quickly as I can. It doesn't take long to do. It just, once you identified it, you have to make it. Hi, Rob. I'm a CCNA and network engineer for almost 3 years now. I am doing mainly basic designs for LAN, increasing reliability, replacing end-of-life devices, implementing redundant core or router. Now I am moving to a job as a network designer with a service provider. I will be doing designs for external clients, focusing on MPLS SD-WAN. My question is the new job I will not be doing any implementation, it's pure design. Do you think that testing what I am designing in EVE-NG is considered a real life experience that will help for my CCIE? Since I start my network journey, I knew that I want go for my CCIE. Do you think it's a good plan or CCDE makes more sense? So here's how I correlate that. That's actually a really good question. Um, Whenever I look at design work, to me, in order for you to be a good designer, you need to be a good engineer first. And the way that I correlate that is, um, it's a crawl, walk, run approach to pretty much any technology that you might be dealing with. Meaning that you have to know at least something about the technology before you can even begin trying to design for it. I don't know your level of understanding in the service provider world, nor do I know what your technical level is. But if you got a job working as a network designer for a service provider, there you've got to have a certain level of understanding. I mean, you have a CCNA, which is great, but there's really no indication here that you've got any service provider work or service provider experience. But um, in order for, if you're planning on going after CCIE will definitely help you with your CCDE, especially when you're focusing on enterprise and service provider. As far as I know, the DE still covers that. I was actually giving some thought to going after DE, and I'm still kind of playing around with it. I just haven't committed to DE at the moment. Something I plan on doing in the future. And at some point in time, I will want to get out of doing delivery and deployments and be nothing but more than a architect and a designer. So, but in order for any designer to be good at what they do, they have to understand the technology first, which is where the CCIE comes into play. CCIE focuses on how the technologies work and all that type of stuff, and then you can circle back and understand how the packet headers are built and read the RFCs, all that type of stuff. Because CCIE focuses mainly on implementation, you're going to need to learn how that stuff works too, and the gotchas for every protocol and every design scenario you might walk into. So if you're not aware of all the nuances that particular protocol has going on with it, depending on the design that it's been implemented in, that could come back to bite you. So I design networks on a regular basis, and I lab pretty much everything up that I can ever do, as long as it's feasible. If I can lab it, I'll lab it. If I can't, I won't. I'll just, hope for the best. But anytime, especially if I'm doing delivery, I will lab up anything that I can. CCIE, if you were to earn that, will definitely help you with CCDE, but the key thing with CCDE is its focus is on design, and it's supposed to be network agnostic, meaning that it's not focused specifically on Cisco. It's focused on networking in general. So, I really am not a good person to give advice on CCDE. Namely for the fact that I have no experience with it other than knowing what it is and having done a very little bit of studying for it. There are other people out there. I will recommend you go look at zigbits.tech. My real good buddy Mike Ziga. He's got a CCDE. Go look up Oron Ergon. He does a lot of CCDE. Look up Malcolm Boudin with MBN Networks. Look up Nick Russo. He's a CCDE. Who else can I point you to? Those are the CCDEs that have CCIs as well. And Malcolm's the only one that doesn't have a CCIE that I know of. I don't think he's passed. I know he was going after the service provider for a while there, but I don't know if he actually, if he's crossed that threshold or not. But I'm sure he'll get it one way or the other. But the key thing with that is I'm not going to be a good resource for CCDE to really answer that question. I can tell you what it is. It's an expert level design exam, focusing on network agnostic network design. Beyond that, I'm not going to, you're going to want to talk to somebody else that's been through the process. I can talk to you at length on CCIE because I have firsthand experience with it. I only know what I know about DE from guys that I know have taken it. So, but the one common theme or Daniel Dibb, he's another guy that I would suggest you go ping. He's a DE as well, CCIE and CCDE. I would recommend that you go ping and grab a couple mentors from that arena. If I was going to go after CCDE, I would reach out to them and I would get I get into a group of other people that are also focusing on CCDE as a end goal. I am not personally in that boat at the moment, so that's why I don't commit to it. But I'm sure in the near future, 6 months to a year maybe I go after it. I don't know. But you're going to want to talk to somebody that knows CCDE intimately, knows the process, has taken the lab exam, has passed. Those guys are going to be the people you want to talk to. Now, what I can go out on a limb and say is that if you are studying technologies deep enough to where you'd be able to pass a lab successfully for CCIE, CCDE should only be that much easier because you already understand the underlying technology. If you're taking CCDE to learn the technologies from a design perspective, but you have no deployment experience, I don't know how that's going to work out. I can just tell you what give you a suggestion on how that would come into play, but that's just my take on the situation. Hopefully that helps. On SD-WAN 33, Service VPN application aware routing, can you share all the scripts if I become member? Yeah, if you become a member of the channel, you'll be able to grab all the config. Well, if it's application aware routing, I didn't put the show run output of anything in that if it wasn't a CLI box, meaning I'd have to configure it via the CLI. On the OSPF deep dive again, hello, is it GNS3 topology? No, it is EVE-NG. That's all I use. NSXV 29 cross-P center vMotion. Your videos are awesome. Man, seriously. Do you have your material collected somewhere? Not YouTube. Nope, right here on YouTube. That's where I put it. It's free to view. The only thing you have to do is, if you want to help me out, just join the channel. Cisco Data Center Nexus 9000V VXLAN 9 LACP port channel between iOS switch. Have you ever configured a Nexus pair in a VPC configuration to a Catalyst core pair? I'm looking at two Nexus 9K Tor top of rack switches to a Catalyst 9K pair with a possible HSRP connection between the two pairs. So, yeah, you could. And I've actually did this with a client not too long ago where we had a pair of 9Ks that connected down to a pair of core switches and we just did a VPC down to them, and that was all we did. It wasn't anything more than that. Created some SPIs and we were just routed over the VPC. Nexus 9000V VXLAN deploy Nexus 9000V in EVE-NG. Thank you for this explanation. Can I use FEX when I can't see FEX features? Not in the 9000V, you can't. FEX, F-E-X, is a fabric extender. It's not virtualizable in Eve. There's no way to do that. But what I can tell you is that, actually, I never tried it. It might be. I don't know. Well, actually, no, it probably wouldn't be because it doesn't have its own code base. It downloads its software from the parent switch when it's detected. So, Effects is a port density optimizer. It allows you to connect up to 48 additional ports to a parent switch, whether it's a 9K, 5K, 7K, and allows that 48 port switch to be connected into two connections on the parent switch, one on one, one on the other. If they're multi-homed. Multi-homing meaning you're connecting to two parent switches. Single home means you're connecting to a single physical parent switch. And typically in a port channel to give you the ability of load balancing traffic over both uplinks. But basically, and then when it's there, you give it the FEX a number, and then you have a bunch of ports that are available to it. So you, like, for example, if your FEX number assigned is 101, then port 1 on the FEX is going to be 101/1/1. So that's basically where that comes into play. Beyond that, there's really nothing you can do about it. You can go buy effects. They're actually pretty cheap. I just looked them up. They're only a couple $100 now on eBay. And if you were to buy a cheap Nexus switch that can support top of rack, like a 9K, you could totally do a fabric extender from home. Totally doable. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. There's no more questions. Let me just refresh. There's no more questions that have been posted at this point. So that is it. I'm going to go back through and I will throw some timestamps in the check in the description. There will be some timestamps. I'll go through and do that and go from there. You guys have an awesome day. You guys take it easy, and I'll see all of you in the next video.